Hi, good evening, and welcome to our live broadcast tonight, where we will be talking with Dianne Todd of Todd Health and Wellness about her journey from sickness to health. So we have a couple people here in our live audience. Say hello, everybody. Hi. Woo! Now, it is a live feed, so we might have some stragglers coming in, so we'll see how that goes. But a little bit about Dianne. She is co-founder of Personal Evolution Guild along with me, and what you're listening to is part of our series where we are sharing information that will help empower you and also just give you a source of knowledge, and we want to share how to get through difficult times and also just be there for you too, and you have to tell us your story, so we're all sharing together in this journey. So without further ado, I'm going to hand the mic over to Dianne, and she will begin. And you can also chat with us on the feed if you are watching this, not watching, listening to this live, so I'll be manning the chats as well. Here you go, Dianne.
So thank you. Of course, like Marilyn said, thank you, Marilyn. My name is Dianne Todd, and I am a Master Certified Health Coach. And so this last year for me has been a pretty exciting year, a challenging year, but I've really started walking in some new territory because just earlier in the year, in January 2016, I founded Todd Health and Wellness and started my own health coaching business. So this last year has really been just getting out in the community and getting the health coaching established, meeting with clients, doing speaking engagements, and doing classes here at the studio. Of course, I've been doing regular health and wellness classes. Many of them are nutrition based, but also cover a variety of different health and wellness topics. So I've been doing that regularly here at the studio. And we also have some exciting things on the horizon because Marilyn and I have partnered and collaborated together on the Personal Evolution Guild, which is a very exciting program that we did a mini launch in November, and we will officially launch the program on January the 1st. So we'll talk about some more information in time on the Personal Evolution Guild, but all of the things that I've been working on this last year with the health coaching and the development of the Personal Evolution Guild, all of that is really geared towards helping other people and inspiring other people, educating other people, helping others really raise their quality of life, and walk alongside others' journeys with them. And it's really about empowerment. And so tonight, normally I'm here at the studio teaching classes, and tonight I wanted to do something a little different. I just wanted to share my story because I didn't just stumble upon health coaching because I've always been a health nut or, always been really into healthy eating and making the right choices and doing all of those things. That's really not where my journey began. So, the reason why I'm here tonight and why I'm so passionate now about health and wellness is really because I've actually had to walk through some pretty serious things concerning my health. And I've walked through some things and I've overcome a lot of things. And so through that journey, that's really what has fueled my passion for health and wellness. So I just want to start out tonight by just sharing with you some written words. These words, they're a short poem that were actually written by my niece. Her name is Ashley Van Fleet, and she is an artist with Simple Art by Ashley. But these words, she's also started writing, and she's a very skilled writer, and these words really touched me when I read them because I could really resonate with them. And I just want to start out with these words. What led her to writing this was waking up to a sunrise and seeing the sun peek its way through the clouds, that little slit of light, and it really prompted her to write these words. The tiniest ray of light, like a golden thread, made its way into the slits of my eyes. The rich, amber-colored brightness drew my eyes open in curiosity and wonder with its goodness. What a beautiful golden ray, eyes open, how glorious the golden sunrise. This must be what a ray of hope looks like. Starts off as the tiniest speck of glittery light that erupts with beams of radiance with a better perspective. Yes, He, my God, is a sea of goodness without bottom or banks. So when I first read those words, it really touched me because of a ray of hope. Because truly, when I was going through the things that I was walking through, that's what I had to hold on to, was just hope. That's how it began. And so if there's anything that I can share and that I would want you all to lead with, is that there's hope for you. And no matter what you're walking through, whether you're walking through something similar that I have or whatever circumstance that you're going through, there's always hope. And the same things that I was able to tap into throughout my journey are available to everyone. Because I'm not any more special than anyone. I'm not any more courageous than anyone. We're all in this together. And so that's really what I want to impart, is that it's very tangible. Change and hope is very tangible. So to tell you a little bit about the background of my story, I have not always had a healthy lifestyle. I would say probably in my teenage years and into my young adulthood, had a very poor lifestyle, was not at all concerned about healthy choices. It just wasn't even on my radar at all. I thought I was invincible, like most teenagers, and really didn't think about making good choices. I didn't eat healthy. I picked up some unhealthy habits, just didn't care for myself. And on top of that, really was in some destructive relationships as well. And I wasn't really aware of it at the time, that I was on a road that would not lead to a positive place. And I just kept going and kept going and kept going, and when I was in college, I graduated from Old Dominion University in 1999. And after college, I started working. I was working 2 jobs. I was working a lot. I had started out working with troubled teens through the court system, working with kids that were in community service and supervising them and that kind of thing. But then I also started working for a law firm as well, and that was a very high-pressure environment, very high-stress environment, and I was given a lot of responsibility during that time, but I also took on a lot of responsibility that probably wasn't mine. And now looking back at those years, I see where a lot of that was really I was driven and motivated by some unhealthy motivations, just the need to be accepted and people-pleasing and that sort of thing. That at the time, I was using that time in my life to really define who I was, but it wasn't the right way to define myself. So throughout my years, really just burning the candle at both ends as a young adult, working really hard during the week and playing very hard on the weekends, and just did everything to the extreme. And that really caught up with me. During all that time, I was not at peace. I may have seemed happy on the outside and put together and all of that, but I was really jumbled up inside, and I can remember just feeling like, wow, all I want to do is run away. If I could just run somewhere so far away and just never look back, or just keep running, and that's just how I felt inside. And it really wasn't until a couple of years later where I realized what was missing in my life. And I'll talk a lot about the spiritual side of my journey tonight. And that's really the biggest part. But that's really the thing that was missing, throughout my whole early adulthood. I grew up in church, and so I was very familiar with God and very sensitive to God all of the time, but I had not surrendered my life to God, and was just really out there, living in the fast lane for a really long time. And these things started to catch up with me, and so by, I would say, my mid-20s, I started to have health problems. I was hospitalized in my mid-20s with a kidney infection that was so severe. I was probably in the hospital for 10 or so days. I was almost near sepsis by the time I got there. It was really a matter of me, again, not taking care of myself. Just go, and not caring for myself whatsoever. Then I would say in my late 20s, I was diagnosed with high blood pressure, so I was on medication. I believe started at age 28. I was on high blood pressure medication for a couple of years. And let's see, in 2005, at the end of 2005 in December, I met my husband. And by February, which was just a couple of months later, I got so sick, completely out of the blue. I thought I had the flu. And, but I was not recovering from the flu. had a lot of stuff going on. I was vomiting. I, had all kinds, it was coming out, I was sick. I thought I had the flu, right? And, but as it turns out, when I wasn't recovering, I ended up having to go to the emergency room. I was sent home. They said, oh, I think you do have the flu. Go on home. This was a Friday. By Monday, I was so ill, I couldn't really walk. They put me in the hospital, admitted me, and really for days was not sure what was wrong with me. I was so ill at that point, I was really wasting away. And finally, probably 4 or 5 days into my hospital stay, they call in a gastroenterologist and did a procedure called a sigmoidoscopy, which is just the lower part of your colon. It's not a full colonoscopy. And what they found was a lot of inflammation, a lot of ulceration in the lower part of my colon, and I was then diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. That was a condition I had never heard of at the time. And it was a very serious digestive condition. But ultimately, they got me back on my feet. I was, once they were able to diagnose me, I was put on high doses of steroids, a lot of medication, and had a long road to recovery, I would say. I was out of work for probably a month. And I had just lost all kinds of weight and muscle and everything. It was pretty serious, but I ended up getting back on my feet. Now, it was during that time that I started coming back to God. Because sometimes that's what we do when we're struggling, and we're looking for hope. And so we're just like, need some sort of hope. And I will never forget, I went and got the little tabs for the books of the Bible so that I could figure out what books of the Bible were what. I mean, I'd grown up in church all my life, but I didn't really know where the books of the Bible. I mean, if somebody told me to turn to a book of the Bible, I wouldn't know how to turn there without the tabs. So anyway, I was searching, and I was looking for hope. And But eventually I got back on my feet. And so all of that kind of fell away because I was better again. And even though I was diagnosed with a chronic condition called ulcerative colitis and was told, hey, this is a chronic condition that you'll probably deal with for the rest of your life, I was actually able to manage and maintain my health on medication. I was on steroids for a long time. I was on a lot of anti-inflammatory prescription medication, but nonetheless, I was on my feet. I was back into working at the law firm, giving it everything I had, and really didn't slow down. Although that was a hump in the road, but it didn't really slow me down long term. So that was in 2006, and of course I was dating my husband now, and we got married in August 2008. And a month after we got married, of course, during that time, that 2-year period, I was just on medication and everything, but really, honestly, did not struggle chronically day by day. I was fine on medication. About a month after I got married, I started having symptoms that I had never had before. And this time, it was just much different. My stomach felt very different. Before, with the ulcerative colitis, when I was having these flu-like symptoms, one of the things that I was doing was passing a lot of blood in the stool. And I only say that because that could be helpful to someone else that could be facing that. But in 2008, after I got married, all of a sudden, I wasn't having those symptoms. I was just having a lot of activity in my stomach. I could feel a lot of movement in my stomach. I could see knotting in my stomach. When I went to the doctor, he said, "Oh, I think you're okay. Here's some Metamucil. You probably just, you're young, you're stressed. You probably just need to get regular. Here you go. Take this over-the-counter stuff, along with the medication." He said, "But in the meantime, let's schedule a full colonoscopy because we never did a full colonoscopy. We just did the sigmoidoscopy." So I say, okay, great. And so I'm doing the things he's telling me to do, but it's not really helping my condition. I'm still feeling a lot of stuff going on in my stomach that I'm not really sure. I could tell something is happening. And October of 2008, I go in for my first colonoscopy, and I got very ill during the prep, which is not normal, but I just got extremely violently ill. And they were really concerned when I went for that morning for the colonoscopy because they're saying, well, this isn't very normal. I mean, typically you may not feel great after going through prep, but, getting violently sick is not really something that they're used to seeing. So they ended up still going through with the colonoscopy, but they could not get the full scope through my colon. And so what they found was what was ultimately diagnosed as a colon stricture. But what they found was a narrowing of one section of my colon, and they could not get the scope through. So the opening in the colon was about the size of a dime. And they were concerned, really. Like, first, they thought their biggest concern was this could be cancer. And that was the most urgent matter at hand, was that they thought this could be colon cancer. Because they biopsied the spot, but just by looking at it, inflammation and colon cancer looked the same from what the doctors were telling me. So they were not able to get the scope through. They were very concerned, like I said, about the possibility of cancer. And they put me immediately on another very high dose of steroids because they said, well, if it's cancer, it's not going to respond to steroids. If it's just inflammation, it will respond. So that way we can kind of figure out what's going on with you, and we'll have you back in 2 weeks for another colonoscopy. So during that 2-week period was pretty intense for me. I had an aunt that passed away of colon cancer. when I was 14 years old. I also had a cousin who has since passed away of colon cancer, but at the time he was struggling with Crohn's disease and had struggled with Crohn's disease from childhood. And so I was very scared and freaking out, really. And again, come back to the Lord, because I need hope and I need a miracle. And I am freaking out. You know, I had just gotten married. I was 32, had not had any children, and I was just a mess. I go back in the 2 weeks for the next colonoscopy. They still could not get the scope through the spot. So at that point, we just continued on with the high doses of steroids. They were biopsying what they could. Everything that they biopsied came back negative, although they were still very concerned because they could not get beyond that part of the colon, so they didn't know what was beyond it. And they were really concerned about the layers, that there could be potential cancer cells somewhere that they're not able to get to. So this journey just kept on, and so I'm doing everything that the doctors are telling me to do. Meanwhile, I'm really starting to get to know God. You know, I'm really starting to figure out here, I need something bigger than me, because I am not able to do this on my own. And so I really just started praying a lot. My husband and I both, it really just drew us closer together, and it really drew us closer to God. And continued, like I said, just doing everything the doctors have told me to do. And I go in for another colonoscopy in January of 2009 now. So this was just a couple of months from the first one, and they just want to see, has there been any improvement at all? We've been on high doses of steroids. I've done every diet they told me to do, vegetarian diet, liquid diet, soft food diet. I mean, you name it, we tried it just to see if it would improve my condition. And January 2009, I had another colonoscopy, but this time my colon was punctured during the procedure. So I had to be hospitalized, which was very serious. I was on complete bowel rest. I could not even have ice chips. I was on, high doses of antibiotics to really just try to heal that spot and get rid of any possible infection in my body. At that same time, I had an insurance change. So the gastro doctor who was wonderful, by the way, and took very good care of me, I was used to being treated by him at Riverside. I was now at a different hospital at Centera because I had an insurance change. And so he was not able to treat me in that hospital, so I saw a brand new surgeon. Well, a surgeon came in and said, hey, I think your best bet will be surgery. And so when you get yourself back on your feet, just come see me and we're going to talk about the surgery options for you. And so my husband and I both are ready to put an end to this story. We're like, okay, at this point, let's do surgery. And I'm thinking, they're going to take that part out that they couldn't get through, whatever thick part of the colon, whatever the thing is that's in there, the mass, they're going to take that out, they're going to piece my colon back together. Let's move on with our life. We've got a lot of life to live, and this has been a really scary time in our life. And so we go into, it was February 6, 2009, and we go into this surgeon's office who was, again, an amazing doctor, had really a lot of concern for me and treated me very well. And he started drawing pictures, like here's a healthy colon, and then here's your colon. And started showing me that because of this blockage in my colon, that what was beyond the colon, what they could see from CAT scans and things like that, was that my colon had stretched out, so that he could not take that little part out and then piece together the colon because it wasn't healthy, you see. And his recommendation was that the entire colon had to be removed. So I was really puzzled when I was in there, because this was not what I was expecting to hear. I had come into the doctor's office with this list of questions like, okay, I know it's going to be an abdominal surgery, but where are my scars going to be? And, what's the recovery like? How long is the recovery? Just things. But in my mind, I was not thinking it was going to be as big of a deal as what it was. And so his recommendation, like I said, was your entire colon has to be removed. At that point, he diagnosed me with Crohn's disease, in addition to the ulcerative colitis, because these types of things, like a colon stricture, which is basically a buildup of scar tissue, which is what I had, is something that he commonly would see in Crohn's disease patients. And so during this doctor's appointment, he has to, of course, tell me all the risks involved with the surgery. And he says, listen, I just want to let you know that I believe this is scar tissue. He wasn't quite convinced that it would be cancer. He thought that it was scar tissue, but that it needed to come out. And, of course, that the whole colon had to be removed. He said that with Crohn's patients, they really didn't like to do surgery because the Crohn's disease could move on to different parts of the digestive system. So, for instance, if they removed the colon, the disease could move to the small intestine. And so he shared with me that he has had patients that have had to have all of their intestinal tract removed, small intestine and large intestine, and are fed through IVs. And so I'm listening to this really like, this can't really be happening. All along I'm thinking the worst could be cancer. But now it's like, what now? I mean, if it's cancer, so what? They take the whole colon out, the cancer's gone, but now what? Like, how do you even live like this? Like, I couldn't even, like, think in my mind, what does this look like going forward? And as a newlywed, I mean, what does this mean for my marriage? Like, you know what I mean? What is my husband, how's he going to feel about this? It was just working through a lot of emotions, you know. So the doctor goes on to say, let's go ahead and schedule this colon removal. But in the meantime, before we do that, I need to examine your rectum to see if that needs to be removed as well. I did not know that could happen, that there was that part could be removed. So I'm giving you these details really just to express the fact that it's crazy what I was hearing. And it was to me the most far-fetched thing, and never anything that I thought I would be faced with. So we schedule this procedure, and we go home that night. And I am a mess. I mean, I am scared. I am freaked out. I don't know what to do. I have these wonderful doctors who are taking such great care of me. Clearly they know what they're talking about. And I just thought, I guess I have to do it. I mean, what is the option? How can you say, no, I'm not going to do this, if this is what the doctors are telling you to do? They would not tell a young 32-year-old to do something like this if it wasn't necessary in their eyes medically. So I really struggled, and it was just a very low point. And that night, I was just distraught is the best way that I can just express it. I could not sleep. My husband, bless his heart, was just amazing. He just sat there with me and said, okay, we're just going to do this and we're just going to get through it and it's going to be okay. And that, of course, is comforting to know that you got somebody there that has your back. But at the same time, I just did not have peace with this. I was just, how can this be? How can things change in 1 second to this making a decision like this? And the fact that I didn't even really have a whole lot of time to process it because I was expected to move forward with these surgery dates very soon. That night, I came home, of course. I couldn't sleep. I had a condo, and so it was a very small condo, and I stepped out of the bedroom and went into the living room, and I was just praying and crying and asking God, what's going on? I've been trying to pray. I've been trying to reach out to you. I've been looking for hope this whole time, expecting you to come through in this situation where I could have cancer, and what is happening? You know, how could this be happening? And I was given a journal by a friend of mine shortly before that time, and I was given a devotional book. And I didn't know what to do except to open the devotional book, you know, and read it and hope that God had something to say to me. And he did. And it pierced my heart that night because I did not have peace with this. I either wanted to have peace with going through the surgery or peace that he was going to save me. I needed to have peace one way or the other because I was in a place that was pretty intense. And I opened this devotional book, and I'm not quite sure that this scripture was the one there in that very devotion for that day. But that night, I was led to this passage. And I just want to read it. It says, "Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. And when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. And when you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, and the flame shall not consume you. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. Because you are precious in my eyes and honored, and I love you." I'm sorry because I get emotional because that is so precious to me. That in my distress and believe me, trust me when I tell you I was not deserving of God's saving grace. I was not. I came to him when I only needed him, right? But he was there in that moment to let me know that he's so present. I mean, he's right there. I mean, more desperate for me than I am for him, right? And he spoke to me with this passage, which pierced my heart. But even still, I didn't really understand it. It was encouraging. It gave me hope. But I thought, okay, God, well, what are you saying here? Are you saying go through with the surgery? I'm going to be with you? Or are you saying trust in me? Don't go through the surgery. I'm going to be with you. What are you saying to me? I don't know. You know, I was so messed up at that time trying to figure it all out. So that was February 6, 2009. The very next day, my brother and his wife had a prayer group that met at their home regularly. And they called me and said, come over, we want to pray for you. The very next day. And that's the way that God works, is immediately just started putting people in my path. Immediate. It was not even 24 hours had passed from this devastating news to where I now had a group of people around me to help me, to mentor me, to pray for me, to encourage me. And so I went over their house the very next day, me and my husband, and our lives completely changed from that moment. They prayed for us, they encouraged us, they gave us truth that we didn't really know. We didn't really know what God had to say about healing, what he had to say about how he sees us, how he loves us. We didn't really know all of these things, but we had this group now that surrounded us and was really able to start speaking into our lives, and it totally changed our lives from that moment on. And that was February 6th or 7th, 2009. And all I can say from that point on was I just didn't have peace going forward with the surgery. I believed that the doctors knew exactly what they were saying to me. I believed that medically speaking, that was the reality. I trusted in these doctors. They were very capable, and they cared a lot about me. It was just that I personally didn't have peace with it. And all I kept thinking of was being wheeled back to the surgery, kicking and screaming. That's just this picture I had in my mind. And that's just how I can explain how I just didn't have peace. I just felt like in my gut, just kind of a kicking and screaming. But that doesn't mean that it was easy, because now I think about the journey that I went on. I think, wow, the easier thing probably would have been to get my colon taken out, because you could adapt to that at some point, right? You just make it work and, it's going to be okay. But instead, I chose just to follow God and see what does he have to say about this and where is he going to take me with this. And so this whole thing became more about, it was almost like the healing that I was looking for and just getting myself healthy just became an after fact. After the fact, it was just not really the focus of the journey anymore. The journey was more about my relationship with God and really getting to know him. Although I had grown up in church all my life, but not really knowing him and really knowing how he sees me and the value that he places on me. I struggled with all kinds of self-issues, really looking for validation in so many different ways, which, like I told you before, living life in the fast lane, and in destructive relationships. And I also, as a child, went through a trauma, a molestation, and I'm not going to focus on that tonight, but all of these things really came to light during my journey in getting to know the Lord. And I started learning so much about the roots of disease and how there's this emotional connection, that can be connected to disease, that it can manifest physically in your body, some inner emotional issues. So anyway, this next journey, it just took me down just a path where, like I said, most of it was based on my faith, really getting to know the Lord. But then there was this practical aspect to it as well. It was like just coming to this realization where I have control over some things, right? I may not have control over this diagnosis right now, but I have control over my lifestyle choices. I have control over the decisions that I make, the things that I put into my body. I have control over all of that. So all I was thinking was, I can't keep praying and asking God to heal me if I'm just going to be out doing whoever knows what and not being concerned about the way that I'm treating my body. So I started doing my own research and just started saying, okay, they say that I could possibly have cancer. Let me research foods that fight against cancer. I'm going to eat all of them, and that was really, just practically speaking, I thought it's hard to sit and wait in faith. I felt like I had to be doing something, So what could I do but try to start taking better care of my body? So I started looking into eating healthy and what could benefit my body. Looking into Crohn's disease and just hearing how other people were dealing with it and things that they might have been doing to help themselves. And one day in church, like I said, God just started putting people in my path to help me both spiritually and practically. So one day in church, my cousin, who was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, who has now passed away of colon cancer, he said to me in church, "Hey, have you ever heard of the Maker's Diet?" And I said, "No." He said, "I think you need to go get that book." The author was diagnosed with Crohn's disease and was very sick and was near death, actually. And his life's totally changed. And he's changed his diet. And he also has a faith-based journey as well. You should check this book out. And I really feel like that day, it's as if my cousin imparted a gift of life to me that day. And he's not here with us today, but I truly believe that day he gave me a gift. And it was like a seed was dropped in me. People will tell you all the time, read this book, read that book, and you go, okay, yeah, I'll think about it. Or, it just slips your mind. That was a seed that was dropped in me, and that day I went into my mom's kitchen, because she has all of these books in her kitchen. And I said, "Mom, do you have something called The Maker's Diet? It's by Jordan Rubin." And she said, "No, I don't have The Maker's Diet, but I have this book called The Great Physician's Prescription for Health and Wellness, and it's by Jordan Rubin." So I said, "I need it." So I read that book that day. I mean, I probably read it in a couple of hours, and just started realizing, wow, this man had was going through the same stuff that I'm going through. He was near death. And his situation has totally turned around. He has changed his diet. He changed his lifestyle. Of course, faith was a big part of his journey as well. But now he owns a health and wellness company and does nutritional supplements. And I mean, it's just, it's amazing, like his testimony. So I was really pumped up. And I'm like, wow, there is hope, And so I go out that day. I mean, in this book, it talks about a list of extraordinary foods that should be in your diets, average foods that you should have in your diet sometimes, and then trouble foods. Well, a lot of my diet was in the trouble area. And so I thought, oh no, forget it. And that's one thing about me is that I really go for it. If it's like all or nothing. So I just said, nope, I'm going for it. And so I took the book and I took my little cheat sheet and I started reading labels in the grocery store. I'm just trying to do whatever I can do practically to start feeling better. And so almost immediately, totally changed my diet, totally started really focusing on my lifestyle, and my health improved dramatically. I told the doctors that I was not going to go forward with the surgery, that I wanted to rely on my faith. That was difficult for some to accept because, well, for obvious reasons. And I did ask one of the gastro doctors that had been treating me regularly, would he just monitor me? That I wanted to really pursue my faith with this and really wanted to take action practically like I was doing with the diet and everything. And he was willing to monitor me for a while. And I remember him saying one day, you're always going to be on medication. This is a chronic condition. And not only that, but I'm really concerned because if you don't have cancer now, you could have cancer later because chronic inflammation can lead to cancer. This is not anything to play with. Plus that spot is so tiny. It's the size of a dime. It's the only opening that you have. If it completely closes up, you're in an emergency situation where you will have to have your colon removed. So he was very hesitant with my position, allowing me to go forward with my position. But he, agreed to monitor me for a time. But I remember saying, I'm not going to be on medication forever. And I'm not going to have this forever. I just started to have hope. And so I thought, no, I'm going to find a better way and I'm going to overcome. And so that's just what I did. And it came to a couple of months past where it turned out that I did not, for a lot of reasons, my prescriptions expired and things like that, but exactly what I said, I'm not going to be on medication forever. Well, that actually happened. It came to a point where I went to try to refill my prescriptions and all of that, and it wouldn't be refilled. And there was all kinds of things with that. But it basically, I said, okay, God, I'm just taking this as your thing, and I'm just going to trust that you know what my body needs at this time, and I've been trusting in you, and so I'm going to keep moving forward, and I'm not going to take the medication. If I can't get a refill and I'm making calls to the doctor, I'm doing my part, right? And so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to move forward. And so that I was moving forward. My health had completely turned around. I had no symptoms of any disease whatsoever. I was completely healthy. I was eating healthy. I was really focused on getting straight. And then I became pregnant in early 2010. And immediately, I didn't know at the time, I didn't know I was pregnant for about 3 months. And my health went straight back down. I started having all kinds of digestive problems again, very serious issues. And I was puzzled, like, what's happening, God? I thought we had gotten past this. Why is this happening? And so over the next couple of years, what I can say is, just because I decided, hey, I'm going to trust in God and I'm going to start implementing these practical tools in my life, doesn't mean that it was smooth sailing, okay? There were bumps in the road, and there were these moments where I had questions, like, am I on the right path? Am I on the right journey? This is very serious. I'm starting to get really sick again. I don't want to go back to a doctor that's going to say, I told you so. I'm really struggling here, And it got to the point where with my first pregnancy, I did go back to a gastro doctor, and for a time being was put on medication and everything to get back on my feet because I was in a very serious way with my pregnancy. But throughout that time, I just said, God, I'm going to trust that you're leading me how I need to be led at this time and at this moment. And but I'm still believing that he is going to be the one that's healing me, right? And so ultimately, I get back on my feet with the pregnancy, had a healthy baby, all natural, fine. It was from the beginning of the pregnancy to the end of the pregnancy were two very different stories. I was very sick in the beginning, and at the end, it was really a happy ending to that. And so everything was going along fine. I stayed on medication for a little while. Was doing fine, but I started to have other problems because being on medications for long periods of time can do a lot of stuff to your body. And on top of that, no one was talking to me about Crohn's disease and the fact that it was an autoimmune disease and that my immune system was attacking itself. Like, no one is telling me any of these things. These are things that I started to research on my own and learn about on my own. Then I started having trouble with other parts of my body, with my liver and things like that, because of just the trauma that my body had been through and the fact that I was depleted from a lot of nutrition. And even though I was eating healthy, I was having trouble absorbing nutrients in my body. So I needed to really up my nutrition game. So it was like every setback that I had was not a setback necessarily, in that it did two things. One, it brought me closer and deeper in my relationship with God, because I was looking to Him as my source and looking to Him for the answers. And then two, it would open my eyes up to another practical, natural thing, or, another practical step that I could be doing to take care of my body. So whereas it started in the beginning with the Maker's Diet and changing my diet, but over time, that wasn't enough for me. So it was, the next pitfall that I went through. It was where, I was introduced to different things, like, for instance, essential oils. Never knew anything about essential oils, but now all of a sudden I'm learning about alternative ways of caring for your body, that there are things out there that can help our bodies, that can actually go into the cells and repair damaged cells and things like that. I had no idea that this stuff even existed. And these are all people that were just put in my life at just the right time, And so I believe that whole journey was God-led, because, like I said, even though it wasn't smooth sailing, and I had those moments, those rocky moments, it was those rocky moments that brought me to a deeper place, both spiritually and practically, and in my health. And so that I could build, on that. So I remember in 2013 was the last time that I had any issue at all. And I remember my husband had gone to get my prescription, and he walked in the door and said, "This is the last time I'm buying this prescription." And that's really not like him, because he just doesn't get too passionate about things like that. He's very cool most of the time. It was just funny to hear him say that, but he really made that declaration, and it stuck. But after that moment, that last prescription that he said, "I'm not going to buy this anymore," and he said, "And you're not going to need it anymore." I took a downturn. And I was like, wow, now what? Now what, God? I mean, now what? And the truth is, I'm not saying all of this to you to say, do what I did and you can have the same result that I did. But I truly feel like in my journey, the biggest story was that God had to be the source. That nothing else was going to save me. And I had to get myself to that place where that I knew who held my life in His hands, right? And that it wasn't the doctors, even though they're wonderful. I mean, they are. They were amazing. They took such great care of me. I would never tell anybody, don't listen to your doctors. I would never say that. This just happened to be my journey that I was on. But I have the most respect for the people that treated me. But it just was that, and the practical tools. I can tell people all day long, eat healthy. You shouldn't be eating that. Do you know that thing that you're eating could cause cancer, or whatever the case may be? I can tell people practical things all day long. But at the end of the day, I can't really separate it from the spiritual journey, because I think that our efforts, they're necessary, because I think we should use wisdom when we're trying to care for our bodies. But I think that can only take you to a certain place. It's only going to take you so far. And for me, it was as if this journey was getting me to a place where I had to know who was going to be the one to save me. And so I had that breakthrough moment. I had that breakthrough moment in early 2013. And it was very, my health had really gone down, and I was very scared. And I remember saying to God, I really think I'm going to die. I really do think I'm going to die. And I got a call that next day from my friend, Anne, who has been a key part of my journey. And she said, so I was praying for you, And out of the blue again, was praying for you. And God said that, she said, I really feel like God was saying that not to give up and that you think you're going to die. But he's saying don't give up. Just don't give up. Because I was really at that low place where I was sad. I was thinking, God, I've been trusting you. And I don't understand. But I'm not going to turn back now. But I'm sad because what happens if I really do die? Because I have a husband who's young, and he's going to get remarried probably, right? Because he's young. I mean, why wouldn't he? And then I have a son. Is he ever going to know me? I mean, at the time, he was like 2. I'm like, is he ever even going to know his mom? Is he ever going to know who I was? Is he going to know how much I loved him? Is he going to have any memory of me? See, this is just all of these thoughts that when you're faced with this moment where you're like, wow, I don't know if I'm really going to make it. And truly, a lot of people around me, family members and people even praying for me, felt like this was a serious place. And I just called out to the Lord that night and said, God, I need a breakthrough. It's like now or never. And it broke through. And that moment, and I'm laying on the bathroom floor, and it literally broke through physically too. I mean, I had a breakthrough in every area. I was vomiting, and I was using the bathroom. I say that because that leading up to that time, I was wondering if that spot had started to close up because I had not been able to use the bathroom and things like that. So, I was getting into that place where it could be very serious. But I had that breakthrough moment. And from that point on, my body started getting stronger and stronger. And I started implementing these tools. Obviously, I was standing on my faith. But then I started really going for it with the stepping up my game and the nutrition and stepping up my game using the essential oils and other natural sources of treatment that were available. I was told about castor oil packs, not drinking castor oil, but actual packs that you could lay on your stomach and it would absorb into your skin, which have been known to break down scar tissue. The very scar tissue that I was told I had to get my entire colon removed. There are testimonies of people using this castor oil, and that has broken down scar tissue. And so I had questions about that. God, why couldn't I have learned all of this in the beginning? I mean, really, why did I have to go through years of this stuff? Why couldn't you just tell me in the beginning, like, go get castor oil and do this and that and it's fine? Because it wasn't about that. It was about putting things in their proper place and in their proper order in my life. And it was about knowing He's the one that's in charge of my life. And He's the creator of all of these things anyway. And it was not those things that were going to save me, truly, because a lot of the time, or a lot of the moments that I went through, there were some supernatural moments there, that cannot be explained away by a good diet and good choices, but that it was truly divine intervention. And so, from that moment on, I have been so healthy. I feel like I've got more and more tools in my arsenal, and it's just every step of the journey has just increased my wisdom in so many areas. Like I said, both spiritually but also practically. It's like, hello, I was living a life that was like leading to destruction on its own. And I had no knowledge whatsoever that eating properly could actually bring healing to my body. I had no knowledge of that. And so it's just been exciting for me because this last couple of years, now I have had another baby, which is a total miracle. Such a healthy pregnancy, night and day from the first one. I have not been on medication for several years now. I, of course, take care of myself through diet and other natural means. And so all of that is very important to me, and I think it is important going forward. You know, I can tell if I'm depleted in a certain area. You know, I want to make sure that I'm feeding my body with the right vitamins and minerals that it needs, you know. And some people struggle, you know, more than others. Some people need more than others, you know, to get healthy. You know, through this journey, one of the things I mentioned, you know, the essential oils, I mentioned the castor oil. One of these things that I didn't even learn about until probably 2 years ago was probiotics. It's like, hello, that is one of the biggest things for health in general, is taking a probiotic. But not only general health, but specifically for digestive health. I was never introduced to that at all throughout that whole journey until just a couple of years ago. So you see what I mean? It's like there were these moments that even though I went through some, you know, it wasn't smooth sailing from the time that I was told my colon had to get taken out and I decided, no, I'm going to rely on my faith and I'm going to change my diet, I'm going to do all these things. It wasn't smooth sailing from that point on. You know, it was a journey, and there were some valleys and some lows in that journey. But every time that I had to go through something like that brought me to another place, and I had another tool, and I was told about another thing that could help. And throughout my whole journey too, another thing that encouraged me was studying and listening to other people's testimonies of overcoming. And that empowered me, you know? So it was like I was really a sponge at that point, where it's like I wanted anything and everything you got, you know? And I wanted to learn from other people. I wanted to learn what helped other people. I wanted to learn what God says about it. I wanted to learn what I could do for myself. And truly, God gave me the grace to walk the path out, because it wasn't an easy path to walk. And so here I am today. I feel like I truly had to go through all of those things so that I could be in a position to rightly talk to someone about health coaching. What's good for them, what's not good for them. And not just nutrition-based, but other issues, emotional issues, other kinds of issues that I had to deal with through my journey. Because through that whole spiritual journey was this whole aspect of addressing emotional issues and hurts and wounds and traumas that I had endured, and things that really opened the door to just living down, you know, going down a path that was destructive emotionally too, as far as also physically, but emotionally as well. So all of these things led me here today to this place where, you know, my background professionally for the last 15 years was in the legal field, and I had gotten to a place where I was kind of feeling like I want to step away from that. I need some time. I've been through a lot. I'm just kind of burned out. I'm ready to just step away for a little bit and figure out what I'm supposed to be doing. I'd like to be at home with my kids for a little while. And I just kept thinking, God, what do you have for me to do? Because I felt like there was something more for me to do. And then it's just like, duh. You know what I mean? It's like this whole journey has changed my life. This whole journey has this whole practical aspect to it of changing the diet and adding these things in nutritionally and otherwise, natural health alternatives and things like that were able to help me get back on my feet. And it's like I am so passionate about these things. And not only passionate about those things, but again, passionate about my faith, because I feel like that's the true source. and that's our true hope. And so that, if I can impart anything to you guys listening or those of you here tonight, is that the same things that I tapped into, like I said in the beginning, the same things that I tapped into are the same things that are available to you. Because I'm not anyone special. I mean, I'm nobody special. And my strength is not found in myself, because I can promise you this journey showed me how I am nothing. I am so weak. And I truly had to find my strength in God. That was really the strength that really was able to get me through this journey. So if anything that I want to say to anyone is that whatever you're going through, it doesn't have to be the same thing that I'm going through. It could be something totally different. But it's the same hope that's going to get you through. It's the same faith. It's the same God that is so present. The same God that met me in the weirdest positions. I mean, truly think about it, in the most dire of situations, but he was right there in the moment, more desperate for me than I was for him. And so that's the main thing that I want to relay to people. But also I want to say we have more control over our health and more control over our circumstances than we think we do. And we don't have to be overcome by our circumstances, but I guess we can overcome our circumstances, You can overcome. And all it takes is sometimes learning something that you didn't know before, and applying a certain principle or applying a certain lifestyle change that could make all the difference, or could just turn yourself in a different direction and maybe open your eyes up to things maybe you hadn't thought of before. So that's really my mission, is to now just inspire others. I hope that the story that I have has given hope and will continue to give hope to other people. And I hope it will provoke thought and help others that are on their own personal journey. Like I said, no matter what it is, whether it's a health-related issue or a personal issue, it's all the same. It's all a journey. And, you don't have to succumb to the circumstances. And I truly believe that with God, anything is possible. And so that is what I want to leave with you guys today. So I hope that I was able to inspire you in some way, and that you can leave feeling empowered to continue out your own personal journeys with true hope.
Yay! Well, thank you, Dianne. I know I learned a lot, and I continue to learn a lot from Dianne, and that's why I really kind of kidnapped her to do a lot of things with me, especially in the new coming year. So I appreciate people who came out today, but we want to give you a chance to maybe ask Dianne some questions if you have any. So the floor is yours. So let me know, and I'll come by near you with the microphone in case you have a question. Or if you just have something that happened in your life, or a comment, or whatever you'd like to share at this moment, just to kind of say, whatever's on your mind. I know Mom's here tonight, so how's Mom feeling right now?
Fine. Got a little cough.
That's okay. That's okay. And I know you were part of Dianne's journey.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
So, so what is it like now for you to just see her at this podium and
It's
doing this,
amazing.
what she's doing?
It's just so amazing, because I was just telling her as we were driving over that on their 50th wedding anniversary, we took a cruise, and I could not enjoy the cruise because that was her worst time that she was having. In October, she was put on bed rest. And I said, I'm just in constant prayer for her while she was gone, because I did not know how bad it was going to be when I got home. But once she got through, had the baby, it's just like I've just seen such a wonderful change in her life. She just does so much. She eats so well. I am so jealous that I don't have all the green light foods that I should have. But it's amazing because she has stuck to her guns. She does not let anything stand in her way. She knows where she's going, and she's going to get there.
Right. And I think that's what makes you such I guess just a very important type of life wellness nutrition coach, because of the story you have. Because now when I pick up some food and I know your story and I'm thinking, should I eat this right now? And I know like the struggles you've been through, it's different than if somebody like a doctor or some other person, like when you're at school and they tell you, here's some great things you can eat, but you don't know all that could be a consequence if you don't. So now knowing, and just how close it is to me, that somebody I know experienced all of that, it really helps me get through those moments of weakness when there's a lovely bag of chips just staring at me, and then I see Diane's face, and then I say, you know what, I'm just really thirsty. That's all it is. I need more water. So I thank you for that, and I just think that with all the classes that you're building, it's going to be such a great resource for people, and it's going to be nice. And thank you for doing this talk, because then if they don't have time to really hear your story at any other time, it's convenient for them to listen to this recording and be able to access your words, because they have such great power. So anybody else have something to share? Dr. Lori? Dr. Lori Hobson, who is a life coach as well. So thank you for being here and being present, and you're such a gift to us as well. So tell us about your experience.
I'm a life coach, and my specialty is resilience, and I feel like I should leave the room because I have not heard a more resilient story in my entire life. Oh my, Dianne, you took me with you many times. I am not going through anything physical. The way the enemy attacks me is emotional, and through relationships and things like that. And but the general story of resilience is very, very similar. It's not, and so I can relate. I know you've probably been looking at my face because nothing hides. You can see everything in my face, and so you probably have noticed me responding and reacting to what you've been saying. I'm just really proud of you that you made these changes, and you have given me some hope for some of the things, some of the challenges that I'm facing as well. Very, very, very similar. I'm out here. I am a life coach, and I am here to touch lives, and I have something to say that people need to hear. Very, very much aware of that. And so I feel you, on that level. I wanted to ask you, though, this is kind of weird, but how's your colon look now? I mean, does it, is it the same thing? Did the blockage open, or is it the same, but you just feel different?
Should I wait? Okay. Well, I feel like there's going to come a time very soon that, or I don't know when actually, but that I'll have to go through another colonoscopy and things like that. In my journey, it got to a point where I had to step away from that because it was the same thing over and over. And it's like at some point I just had to go, okay, so I got to figure out what path I'm really on. I can't keep going back in. Every colonoscopy, I had like 5 of them. They were all the same and showed this stricture and showed this area not being able to go through. Now that was before I started learning about some of the natural treatments that I started doing. So where I may have been eating healthy during that time, which was enough to really help my body day to day, feel good, but the stricture was not breaking down, and so they were never able to get through that spot. So, but I can tell symptom-wise, and your bodily functions and things like that, I can tell when there's a problem and when there's not. And so for the last couple of years, like I said, I was introduced to castor oil packs that have been known to break down scar tissue. I have been doing castor oil packs regularly. And that, in addition to the other things that I've been doing, all I can tell you is there's normal, everything is normal. And so that is a key indicator for me of what's going inside of me, or what's going on inside of me. Because when things were not normal, I know the symptoms that I was having, and I know that just even using the bathroom was not normal. And you see what I mean? So I can tell you the difference, and that everything that is happening with me now is completely normal function.
So I guess you don't even need to see
Don't need to know
any
what
kind
it's
of,
like, yeah.
just like kind of visit an old boyfriend's picture. You don't need to see
Right.
Living in the past.
Though I will say, one of the colonoscopies that I had very early on was really ugly. Like, they gave me pictures of it, and it showed the inside of my colon, and it was, if you've seen a healthy colon, they'll show you it's very smooth and hollow. This was yucky. It was just a lot of inflammation and bumps and all kinds of just stuff going on in there. And I actually have a picture of it. And my husband, when we started, we were living at the condo, shortly after getting the news about, how diseased my colon was, he had drew a picture of a colon and put it on the refrigerator and wrote a scripture on it. And when we moved from the condo to the house, I took that picture that he drew with the scripture and I put it on top of the bad pictures of my colon and put it away in the closet. And so I say that to say, one day I feel like there might be an opportunity to see it in the natural, I'm excited about that. So to answer your question, though,
You kind of have a colon vision board put away somewhere.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat.
yeah.
Anybody else? How about, well, I got to just mention that, we have another special guest. Glenda is a distributor of essential oils. So how about hearing this journey? And because you're new to that, you're new to distributing that. So how about hearing somebody's testimony who uses these natural products?
It's just confirmation of what I know already, that essential oils can do anything. They can heal at the cellular level, and that never ceases to amaze me. It goes in and cleans out all the crud and starts fresh, building new DNA so that you can live a healthy life. And I was going to ask you if you were taking digestin, because that actually, that's something that I need to take because I was having ulcers and stuff, and I don't want to be taking anything like Nexium or any of those other ones from, or I don't know what the name of it is I was taking. But anyway, I don't want to be taking that the rest of my life, so I'll just take that. And I'm hoping that will prevent me from having to take anything more serious anymore, and they got rid of my 5 ulcers and all that good thing. So anyway, but I'm glad to hear that you did incorporate that as part of your healing. I've always been a big believer in the natural healing based on what happened to me when I was a little girl. I had eczema and ringworm on my fingers and my toes really bad. When I was little, my mom took me to like 5 doctors, and they all recommended something different. Do this, boil our socks, put this on our feet, blah, 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 and nothing worked. Well, we lived out in the boondocks in North Carolina, and there were neighbors up the street from my aunt, and they heard about my problem, and so he came up, and he had a look at everything, and he says, he goes, I'll be back. And so he came back with this little pot, and I guess it had some kind of a salve in it. And they put it on my fingers and on my feet, and the next day it was gone.
Yeah.
So whenever I would have a flare-up, I would just use that, and it would be gone like that. Needless to say, we were getting nervous when we got really low on it. But I haven't found anything that worked as well as what that did.
Yeah.
But I didn't need it anymore. At the time that I was running out, I didn't need it anymore. So I've always, since the time I was little, I've always believed in the natural healing because I know that it works.
Mm-hmm.
And so antibiotics, I never cared for them. I knew they were a necessary evil, that sort of thing. But, I'm glad that you were able to incorporate all the healthy things and get away from the chemical, the chemically
Dependency.
Yeah, exactly. Get away from the chemical dependence and stuff. And I hope that you're able to just hang in there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, I know that we're out of time now. And I just want to say thank you again to Dianne. Let's give her one more round of applause. Really awesome. You're brave to share it. I know sometimes you kind of feel, oh, is this going to be too personal? And is this okay to share? But yes, thank you. So if you want to learn more about Dianne, she has a website, and it's pretty simple. It's DianneTodd.com. But let me spell out Dianne Todd because it is spelled DianneTodd.com. And if you want to learn about our new project coming up in January 2017, that is going to be on our website, personalevolutionguild.com, and find us on Facebook as well. Thanks again, everybody, and we really appreciate your time listening.
And share it with anybody that you think might benefit from hearing this story. And we'll check with you again soon. Thanks so much.